Good morning. It is just before 10 o'clock on Monday, and I've just gotten to my doctor's appointment. I'm also going to do an IV infusion while I'm here, so we're going to go get the IV started, and then we'll be meeting with my doctor.
Right, testing. 1, 2. Yeah. How are we?
Okay, methylene blue.
Yeah.
Seems good.
Okay.
I'm up to 75 milligrams twice a day.
Okay.
Right now I'm doing it like basically morning and evening.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that would interfere with sleep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't seen it disrupt anyone's sleep, just because of what we think or we hope it's doing in terms of mitochondrial repair / anti-infective / who knows what else, it to me is, not a stretch to say it could interfere with sleep.
And the only thing I've noticed is like a little bit of like my resting heart rate being slightly elevated.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
I could just take it earlier.
You could do that morning and midday. I would say let's keep an eye on that. Is 75 or possibly more too high for you?
Yeah.
That's all. because then
Okay.
we could land on a sort of a dose that
Yeah.
maybe we'll do for an extended period of time.
You got my labs from last time, right? That you were looking at IgE. I was curious about the IgE.
Yeah, your IgE is still elevated. So I think in my mind, it still could be a few different things. So we went from 938 to 919 to 668 to 493 to 554. Technically lower than the very first time we ran it.
Yeah.
I do sort of wonder about send you to a specialist to see if there is some sort of anti-IgE antibody test. Mostly to kind of like pinpoint, like, is there like some sort of process going on here that we just haven't identified. I wanted to also check in with you and see if there was any follow-up with like Dr. Palmer. Because when was the last time you had a pelvic ultrasound? I feel like that would have
it's been a while.
I'm sure they're going to want an updated pelvic ultrasound.
Okay, the plasmapheresis. There's a place in St. Louis Park that does it.
No, really?
Yeah, it looked legit.
Oh, it is. It's with Rawson. That's so much easier. Yeah, let's send you there. That is amazing. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that.
Oh, I was going to say, I think the digestive enzymes were causing my flare-ups. Or semi-contributing. I think in my mind, I just was like, oh, the digestive enzymes are good for me. Like, I hadn't... Yeah. So then I tried just, like, stopping taking them for a while. And I was like, yeah, I feel like that's a lot better. And it would make sense why it would always happen at night, because by the end of the day, I've taken 6 of them or whatever.
Yep. If you're getting the flare-ups and you're getting the burning, to me it's like
not worth it.
Yeah. You could trial just a pancreatic enzyme. Something without the HCl in it, just because then you'd still get some digestive support without maybe the
thing that's
burning. Yep. Okay, so methylene blue stuff, we'll update the prescription. I'll send in the order for the pelvic ultrasound. I'll send something into Palmer. Try the pancreatic enzymes only. No HCl. I was going to add in grapeseed extract for you. It's sort of like I was just gently tweaking something that I think you'd be okay taking. Just some cardiovascular support / possibly brain fog support. But
and adding in something would be easy enough.
Okay, let's do it.
Good morning. It's about 6:30 on Tuesday. And this is usually the time I would get outside to get morning sunlight, but as you saw, it's very rainy this morning. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time in front of my red light. I usually try to get a few minutes in front of the red light in the morning anyway, but especially since I can't get outside or get natural light in my eyes, that will kind of mimic the wavelengths of light that I would be getting from sunlight if I could get outside. So I'll spend a little extra time in front of my red light this morning, and then I'm hoping it's going to stop raining pretty soon because I am supposed to go for a walk with a friend a little later. And obviously, if it's raining a little bit, it's not that big of a deal, but it might be a little less fun if it's still pouring rain out. this week we have HVAC cleaning going on in my building, which is great. One of the benefits of living in a condo building is stuff like that is essentially done for you, but it also means that it's on their schedule, and basically people are gonna show up at my door sometime tomorrow and need to come through my entire condo with their equipment, get out into my deck where my HVAC closet is, go in there, clean it out, everything like that. And I admittedly am a little bit of a clean freak, and I don't love the idea of them wheeling their equipment. Like, they have this big, I don't even know what it is, kind of looks like a power washer type of thing. It's about that size, that they've been wheeling around the building and outside and onto everybody's balconies and into their disgustingly dirty HVAC closets, and I don't really want them wheeling that across my floor and through my living room. So what I have resorted to doing in the past couple of years is laying down like construction paper. Basically, I went and got this giant roll of paper from the hardware store, and my task today is to lay it out across my floor so they kind of have a path to go on. Also, it's supposed to rain a whole bunch tomorrow, so I know that everything's probably going to be very damp out there as well. Another reason to just like protect my floors and my carpet, but it is a little bit of a task. So I've been putting it off, but I can't really put it off any longer, and hopefully I can get this done fairly quickly. Well, that actually only took me like 10 minutes, so not too bad. Well, since the sauna has become the place where I recap any appointments I've had, I thought I would do a quick summary of my doctor's appointment from yesterday. So the first thing that we touched base on was a prescription that I basically restarted. It was something I had taken for a while previously and then took a break from it at one point. And now there had kind of been some emerging evidence for increasing the dosage of this particular compounded medication, which is methylene blue, which can be like antiviral, I think maybe also antifungal. I believe the general idea is that it like activates mitochondria, which could obviously kind of have like a lot of impacts on the body. But anyway, we had decided to reintroduce that and kind of have me gradually increase the dose to see if I would notice anything as we got to a higher dose of it. So I've been doing that for the past few weeks. The one thing that I had mentioned to my doctor that I kind of have noticed, I'm not entirely sure if it's a real trend at this point, but just kind of keeping an eye on my resting heart rate, because I have noticed specifically with my Oura Ring data, like at night, my resting heart rate has been a little bit elevated, a little higher than it usually is. And at this point, it's been happening regularly, so I'm keeping an eye on that to see if it eventually goes back down to more of my normal, or if it continues to be elevated, and then if I do increase the dose of this medication a little bit more, because the goal was to kind of get to a certain point that I haven't quite gotten to yet. So if I continue to increase it, does that get worse? In which case I might need to bring the dose back down until we kind of find that level where I can hopefully be getting the benefit of it, but not affecting like sleep or resting heart rate. Other than that, I definitely don't have any side effects from it. I wouldn't say I've noticed anything especially beneficial yet, but again, some of this stuff is like working on a cellular level where I might not feel it on a day-to-day basis, but hopefully it's kind of helping my body function a little better, maybe relieving some inflammation or some stress on my system, and over time that can add up. So keeping an eye on that resting heart rate, gonna kind of see how that goes over a couple more weeks. The lab test that we did last time was specifically to check in on my IgE levels, which is a marker of like immune response. Historically, I've had very, very elevated IgE level, which we have not really been able to figure out why that's happening, despite a lot of other testing and investigating that we've done. So because I'd done parasite protocol for a while, kind of like throughout the winter, that parasite protocol had the potential to bring down my IgE levels if there was like some kind of parasitic thing going on that could cause IgE levels to increase and doing that parasite protocol, we were curious to see if that number would go down at all. It kind of didn't. It has trended down a little bit. Like, I think the first time that we flagged it as being high, it was like in the 900s or something crazy. We went back and looked at like all of the records we have from, I don't know, I think I've done like 4 or 5 of these IgE tests, and I was still sort of at that level. So that's another one of those things that's still a little bit of a mystery, but it was worth checking in on at this point. And then we also talked about a few things that we had discussed a little bit last time that were kind of like, okay, next steps after we do these couple of other things. One of which is plasmapheresis, which is basically like a plasma exchange treatment. I think it's kind of a newer thing, or maybe it's just like a newer thing to like a wider population or wider use. I believe it is often used like in hospital settings for people that are like on kidney dialysis, lupus, or like severe autoimmune conditions, but it isn't FDA approved procedure. I haven't done it yet, obviously, so my understanding of the process is that basically taking your plasma out of your body, or separating your plasma out, like filtering it or, you know, cleaning it, and then putting it back in your body. And that process can like remove toxins and inflammation and potentially even things like heavy metals. But instead of just like giving plasma or like pulling this out of your body, you are then getting it put back in, so it's not like a really depleting process. It can actually be really helpful for your body because you are getting that better quality plasma put back into your system. And the struggle for a while was that there wasn't anywhere here in town that offered this. And so the question was like, is it worth going elsewhere? And when I was kind of doing some searching around, I happened to find that there is a clinic here now that just started offering this treatment, and wouldn't you know, it's like 10 minutes away from me. So I wanted to check with my doctor and make sure this was like legit and not just like some, you know, sketchy place like saying they are offering this treatment. But it is somebody that she knows and has worked with in the past. So she was very excited about that and was like, definitely, let's try to get you in there as soon as we can and try this out. I don't know if I'll have to do like a consultation first or some kind of intake. I'm assuming with something like this, they might need a certain amount of medical history just to make sure that you're a good candidate for it or can tolerate it. So there might still be a few more steps before I can actually schedule that, but that would be pretty cool if I can try that. And then the one other thing that we followed up on was a referral to an endometriosis specialist. I think I talked a little bit about this at one point previously, but even though a lot of my symptoms or lab work or whatever wouldn't necessarily match up with a diagnosis of endometriosis at this point, given how many other things we have investigated or sort of checked off the list, we figured it would be worth at least consulting with somebody who was like very much a specialist in that area and could say whether my particular symptoms and like compilation of lab work and all that, is it possible that that's a factor, or is it really, really unlikely? Like, is it just something that is not really worth spending time to investigate? So that was another thing. My doctor was gonna send in a referral to somebody here that she knows who is a specialist in that area, and hopefully they will be able to either say like, yeah, we should do XYZ to further investigate, or maybe they'll just say like, this is really unlikely to be part of the problem here and maybe don't go down that road. My doctor did say they likely would want an updated pelvic ultrasound, which is something that we've done quite a few times in the past to rule out like cysts on my ovaries or other things that might show up. Everything has always been totally normal, but since it's been a few years since I've done one of those, she suspected that like in order to even get a consultation with an endometriosis specialist, they would probably want to have that first. So that's another thing that I need to just get scheduled and kind of get an updated pelvic ultrasound done, and that should kind of be the first step in that process. And I think that was kind of it. Those are the big things that we were checking in on this time. The methylene blue prescription, continuing to increase that dose, but keeping an eye on the resting heart rate situation, the plasmapheresis treatment, now that we found this clinic here that does it, trying to get that scheduled ASAP, and then endometriosis consultation, if it seems like that is a road worth going down, getting that process started as well. It's the next day, it's early on Wednesday morning, and last night I woke up at some point in the middle of the night because I'd heard a weird noise and I couldn't quite figure out what it was, but I figured it was maybe like my upstairs neighbor or something, because sometimes I do hear them walking around at night. But then I came out here this morning and saw that the paper I had laid out last night had come untaped from the floor and like rolled all the way up, which would definitely make sense for the noise that I heard. So I guess I need to be a little more aggressive with my taping strategy. Okay, the HVAC crew was just here to do the cleaning. Luckily, they said everything looks good with my HVAC unit because we have had some issues in this building with problematic HVACs in other people's units. So always like keeping my fingers crossed that mine is doing okay, because basically the ones that we have are very difficult to replace. You can't like get replacement parts very easily if something is broken, and there's like nothing that actually fits into the existing closets that we have, so it just becomes very, very complicated if you do have to replace it. But anyway, everything seems good, and now I can take all of the paper off my floor. Also, there were two other quick things that came up in my doctor's appointment the other day that I forgot to mention. One was that I told her that I thought that the digestive enzymes I was taking might have been or probably were contributing to my GI flare-ups, and that once I stopped taking those, things seemed to calm down quite a bit. So one thing I'm going to try is, instead of taking a digestive enzyme that includes HCl and pepsin, which is basically like stomach acid to help with acid production, because I have had a reaction to those kinds of supplements in the past. Like if I've taken a digestive enzyme that is just HCl, I really don't tolerate it well. So again, kind of surprised that I did not figure that out, that that was part of the issue with these enzymes. But anyway, and the enzyme that I was taking is a pretty small amount, but clearly enough, at least enough over time to create some kind of reaction for me. So I'm going to try an enzyme that is just pancreatic enzymes, which could still be beneficial to help me break down food and absorb nutrients and everything, but eliminating the actual stomach acid component will hopefully mean that I can still take some digestive support without having it trigger any issues for me. And then also adding in one new supplement, which is grapeseed extract, and that is kind of to support cardiovascular health. I have had elevated cholesterol levels for quite a while, which we've never been super concerned about. It hasn't been getting worse. It's been holding pretty steady, and it is likely just a downstream effect of other things that are going on for me. So it's not anything that we've ever felt the need to very specifically target. This supplement will offer a little bit of support, but also doing it in a way that's pretty gentle and like through an herbal supplement versus maybe like getting on a statin or something, which would be much more on the extreme end and not something that we are looking at this point. But it was just on her list of things to include sometime in the future, and I'm not taking a huge amount of supplements right now, so I told her I was fine to add that in. So place an order to both restock some other supplements I need and get this new version of the enzymes and the grapeseed extract, and those should be arriving in the next couple of days and be able to add them in. The curtains that I ordered to hang on my bed frame have arrived, so I'm going to install them, hang them up, and see what they look like. I think these turned out really well. This is exactly what I was looking for. I had a 4-poster bed when I was like a teenager and I had curtains on it, and I always loved how cozy it was at night when I could like close them up and basically feel like I was in a little tent. So now I will be looking forward to getting into bed each night even more than I already do. It is Sunday afternoon and I just got a package in with my new supplements that my naturopath wanted me to add in when I saw her last week. So I have some grapeseed extract, or I think it's grapeseed something or other, which is kind of like cardiovascular support because my cholesterol levels have been high for quite a while. Not necessarily so high that it's really concerning, but just to add in a little bit of support, kind of cover our bases and just make sure that we're not neglecting that area. So this is something I will start adding in. I think it's just once a day. I probably will start that tomorrow. And then the other one is pancreatic enzymes, because I had suspected that the like full spectrum digestive enzymes I was taking was causing some of my GI upset and flare-ups. And that formula that I was taking included some HCl and pepsin, which is basically like stomach acid. And I have in the past reacted pretty strongly if I take just like an actual stomach acid support that is just like HCl. I have not tolerated that in the past, but still wanted to include some kind of digestive support because in previous gut testing, there's been some indication that not necessarily fully digesting my food. I'm going to try just doing the pancreatic enzymes. Pretty sure I will tolerate this just fine, but I probably will introduce it a little bit slowly and just try to take note of anything that comes up. I will say last night I did have a little bit of a GI flare up. So I have had like, I think 1 or 2 other times where I've had very mild but still noticeable GI flare-ups even since I've been off the enzymes. So I do think that's not the only thing that is contributing. What else is triggering it or actually like causing it, I'm not sure. But the last couple of times I've had that happen, it's been way less intense than what I experienced previously and really has only lasted like maybe 24 hours or less. Whereas before, if it would start up, it would usually escalate into something over a couple of days or into something a little more intense. So I guess that's a good sign. My other sort of speculation at the moment is that ever since I started doing the fascial counterstrain therapy, some of what she's been working on, especially in the last session she did, some of the areas that she was working on are connected directly to the gut. And she did say I might experience a little bit of symptoms or a little bit of upset as things kind of integrate and adjust. And I had my last appointment on Thursday morning, so given that I had a little bit of that upset last night, maybe that kind of makes sense that, you know, maybe like 48 hours after that appointment, experienced some symptoms, but nothing that ended up getting to be too intense. So it might be interesting to see as I have a couple more of these fascial counterstrain appointments, if that continues to stir things up a little bit, or if over time, like I start to have fewer issues with that or fewer flare-ups in general. I have always kind of suspected that there was some sort of nervous system tie in there because I would get these flare-ups seemingly at random and like I could not really connect dots together besides the digestive enzymes. But even with that, I was on those enzymes for years, and obviously like I would have flare-ups from time to time, but much of the time that I was taking those enzymes on a daily basis, I was not experiencing a flare-up. So I don't think it could be just that the enzymes were triggering something. I feel like there has to be a little more of a pattern to it or something that is essentially going on in my body that is not necessarily only related to what's going on in my gut, if that makes sense. So anyway, if there is some kind of nervous system pattern that is getting triggered somehow in various different ways, I will be curious to see if the fascial counterstrain therapy can be helpful with that, because a lot of what that is trying to do is to kind of retrain nervous system, or to look at how the fascia is connected to different areas of the nervous system and different areas of the body and kind of unwind old patterns. And I have noticed as well, since doing, I think I've done 4 appointments now, that my body definitely feels different. Like I've noticed, especially during workouts, I get sore in different places. I have a little bit different like tension patterns. Things that would usually get tight or feel restricted are feeling less so, and things that usually felt less engaged or like underactive feel like they're working better. So that's been kind of cool. It's pretty subtle at this point, but it has been noticeable to me. And I guess my hope is just that if I do a few more sessions, I can either start to kind of like stretch those sessions out like longer in between sessions and still maintain that progress, or maybe even get to the point where I could just do like maintenance sessions every once in a while, or maybe not even need to do more appointments if it really is getting to the level of nervous system and kind of rewiring how things are patterned or functioning. I think the hope is that you get to the point where your body is just functioning better and you don't necessarily need to keep doing regular appointments for the rest of your life. So anyway, that kind of went off on a different tangent, but got my new supplements to start. Fascial counterstrain therapy also seems to be helping with some of the GI stuff, and we'll see if that continues to improve over time. In other news, I also just downloaded a macro tracking app. I mentioned, I think in my previous video, that I have been wanting to do maybe a week or two of tracking macros just to kind of check in, see where I'm at, both with macronutrients obviously, but also tracking micronutrients, tracking things like fiber. Just kind of curious to see where I'm at, like with what I am eating now without changing anything. And if there's anything that I might want to tweak a little bit. I'm pretty good at like guesstimating what I need and what I'm eating. And I don't have any plans to like strictly track things for a long period of time, but I do like to check in every once in a while just because I think that can be a good exercise. It's been so long since I've done any kind of tracking, so just kind of curious to see what an actual breakdown looks like. So I think that will be at least part of next week's video, getting started with a trial run of macro tracking. But I think I'm gonna end this video here. I hope you will stick around. You can subscribe down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.